What is up, guys? It's the Sound Alchemist with a neck cramp, and I'm here with...
Gershwan with no neck cramp.
It's his bowels that are cramping up.
There, yep, you're going to start hearing noises in a little bit.
But anyway, welcome back to another For the Greater.
This is a video series where you guys ask us questions, and we try our best to answer those questions, but make sure to put question in front of your question, because we get to those questions first. Excuse me. There's the stomach cramps.
And this question comes from Lone Goat 81. His question strikes near and dear to my heart. If GW retcons Sanguinius being dead, then how does this affect the Black Rage?
That's a good question, because as we all know, the Black Rage came about during the Horus Heresy. Mm-hmm. When Sanguinius was taken out by Horus, the Lord did state that he killed them.
Yeah.
But the Blood Angels, within their gene seed, they were just like psychically impulsed to have sorrow for the Primarch's death. Mm-hmm. And now that translates to, in the 41st millennium or 42nd millennium now, whenever the Black Rage takes a hold of a Blood Angel, whether it's successor or like an actual Blood Angel, it's a psychic trigger that basically puts them in it's
like a frenzied state.
Yeah, but they're hallucinating. They think that they are within the Horus Heresy era, and they actually are fighting traitor Marines, whether they truly are or not. It doesn't really matter. In their minds, they are. And then that's where the Black... Is it the Black Company?
The Death Company.
The Death Company comes in. And yeah, so once... There's only been like one or two Blood Angels that have been able to overcome that.
Yep.
But the trigger is the death of Sanguinius. So if they retcon the death of Sanguinius...
Which I think it's been official, right? It's like Sanguinius isn't dead. He's just in near-death state, in stasis.
Yeah, there's been... Because GW and the Warhammer TV YouTube channel, they do... what are they called? Podcasts and stuff. And yeah, they've talked about how he is just in stasis. Right. And I think a couple of videos have even mentioned that. If that does happen, that doesn't mean that the Black Rage goes away. The Black Rage still exists because Sanguinius still did fall. Mm-hmm. And the Primarch was taken away from the chapter, and that's still psychically imprinted in the minds of all those people, because it's like your father falling to Horus.
Which was his best friend at the time.
Yeah, so that itself won't go away, and I don't think... Like, I think... Sanguinius's goal will be to find a cure, not just for the Red Thirst, which is what he was trying to do during the 30K era,
right? But
now he's also trying to look for a cure to the Black Rage.
Yeah.
Because, that's a thing.
Yeah, but I don't think it's going anywhere, especially since we've seen even Primaris Blood Angels can fall to the Black Rage.
And you have an entire unit within the Blood Angels successors and just the Blood Angels that is nothing but Black Rage members.
Right.
So you can have a Dreadnought.
There are Dreadnoughts that are fallen to the Black Rage.
Yeah, so GW I don't think would do away with that product line or that miniature line. And they have value.
They're really good.
Yeah, in the lore itself too, like they are the close combat unit that the Blood Angels possesses, even though Blood Angels themselves are kind of close combat.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's like if you want to play World Eaters with that whole aggressive nature to them that just go into close combat and like wreck stuff up, this is the Loyalist version of that.
Yeah. I would see GW trying to push the story in like Sanguinius trying to find a cure for the Black Rage, but that's the big difference. Like it's not him finding a cure for the Red Thirst anymore, it's just the Black Rage, and it won't go away.
Right. It's... Because it sucks to be Sanguinius, because like he felt so bad for having this gene seed deficiency in his lineage that like that was like his main task during the Horus Heresy. Besides obviously like liberation and following orders from the Emperor. But now if he were to come back and be healed, then it's like a whole bunch of stuff is just gonna hit him hard. It's like the Black Rage is now there, the Red Thirst hasn't gone away. Everything that he did to try and stop chaos, as you can see, it's even worse.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's really interesting because Gilliman, he's more of a leader type aspect for the Space Marines. And if they bring back Sanguinius, Even though he'd be really awesome to have in the like as like another leader type character, but I feel like he's gonna go and do his own thing. He's not gonna fight alongside the whole forces of the Imperium against Chaos. I feel like he'd be more to find a cure. That way he could help the Imperium by helping his Legion first.
Yeah, kind of like what they did with the Traitor Primarchs. Like Magnus came back and Mortarion came back, but they're not really in the lore anymore. They fought during their specific situations.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at the most current lore, they're not really on Vigilus. So,
Right.
or well, I think Vigilus is the last thing that I've read. But yeah, so I think it would be the same as Sanguinius. There would be like an epic, amazing thing, but then after a while, it'd be like, okay, now it's over. Let's move on. You can still play with that model
Yeah.
on the tabletop.
Because as big as the Primarchs are, it's like if they're dead, I'm pretty sure GW is like, damn, we shouldn't have written them off as dying because now we can't sell their awesome models.
Yeah, they should have kept Ferrus Manus. A
That's what to
Dreadnought
say.
Primarch would have been awesome.
R.I.P. Ferrus Manus.
There was because GW is advancing the story, things are changing within the lore and things are changing within like the way certain chapters and certain factions are played. This is gonna happen to the Blood Angels if Sanguinius does come back, and it kind of is happening to the Tyranids maybe with Blackstone Fortress and the Zote. Because there's a whole thing about the Zote. They're probably not going to make it as big as it seems, or as I made it seem on that one video. But
it's only like it's only one Zote and it's in that little Blackstone Fortress. Like they're not doing like a whole.
He might even be like a named guy.
Yeah. Kind of like the Men of Iron.
Yep.
It's just one guy confined to the narrative of Blackstone Fortress. Not you have a whole legion of Men of Iron.
Right. But somebody did comment on that video, and they were saying that you have to be okay with the lore changing if you want the story to advance. And I would pass that over to you guys. What do you guys think about that statement? Like, are you guys okay? Because people were hating the fact that Primaris Marines came out.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a loud minority, but they really hated that the Primaris Marines came out. But that did advance the story. And then we got Gilliman, and then we got like
all these new Primaris captains and chapter masters and
all that good stuff.
Yeah.
But how do you guys feel about that? Like, should we as a community just be more open to the changes that are happening to the lore and to the tabletop because it is advancing and the game is progressing, or should we continue to be negative Nancy's?
But the thing is this, like, yes, they're advancing with for example, the Primaris. We're going on a little tangent here. The Primaris were created, they were the next level of Space Marine, when it's already been said that the Emperor made these as like the pinnacle of like science and creation and all that.
Yeah.
So to mess around with a gene seed to make these Space Marines 2.0, wouldn't that be viewed as heresy?
Well, back in the day, you're talking about like the Primaris Marines?
Right. When they first came out, people were saying, oh, like this should have never happened. The Emperor already said, like, if you mess with the gene seed, you're borderline a heretic.
The funny thing about, or the connection that I've made with 40K and like Christianity and like religion is that because things are so vague, there's always ways to twist things in order for you to get what the writer wants. In religion, it's usually like the preacher, the
priest, the
pope, whatever the head is. But with 40K, that's the thing. So like that was everybody was saying like, oh no, that's heresy that they're changing it. But all GW did was like, no, they've been doing this since 10,000 years.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, it's like, oh, okay, well, yeah, I guess that makes sense then.
Right. And then they could always change like, oh, Ferrus Manus didn't get beheaded.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, then what happened?
It's like, well, in reality, and then but the point is that I think the lore is so vague and so open that there is room to like to have the writers really twist things.
Do you feel like when the story advances, it should just advance from this point on? Or do you think that it's going to advance through retcon?
No, I think it's going to advance from this point on. You will always have like retcons, like Sanguinius coming back or claiming that Sanguinius was never dead. But even that, like, another really good comment that I saw in one of in the Zote video, when I created the Zote video, I talked about how the Necrons went from a mindless robotic swarm to like now every single lord has
his personality.
Yeah, he's not tied to the protocols anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And the person commented, I didn't see that as a retcon. I saw that more as like the Imperium in the lore understanding more about the Necrons as a Xeno race, and then that changed the reality. So you could look at it that way, and that's the cool thing about 40K and like the lore of 40K. We are interpreting everything through the eyes of humanity, so the Imperium. So it does make sense that we have been reading these codices for all this time through the eyes of the average intelligence of the Imperium.
Mm-hmm.
And then when new things get rediscovered, there is retcon, but in reality it's just like, no, it's always been this way.
Right.
It's just that the Imperium has always been so what is it called?
Narrow-minded,
Yeah,
maybe?
yeah. But I thought that was really awesome. So like you guys usually come up with some things that like we never even think about. So interpreting retcon lore in the way as in like that's just the Imperium. That's just the rare instance of the Imperium becoming more
woke.
Yeah. Then it's like whoa, like yeah. That changes completely.
Yeah, because now it's like every time I read like a battle, it's like, I should like take this as more of opinion than fact.
Yeah, that's true. Because there could be like some because during the Horus Heresy, so many records were completely destroyed.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the Edict of Obliteration. Like that completely removes every likeliness, symbols, and facts and data of an entire, depending on what it could be, culture, race, religion. Like, and then the only thing that's left is just like remnants, like little bits and pieces that we were trying to fashion together to make sense of it all.
Yeah. Because even with the Sanguinius, like the books for the Horus Heresy books have more detail than the Codex, and it could be that like in one rare instance of a data slate that was like found within the libraries of like the Grey Knights, it could have stated like no, Sanguinius actually might have still been alive.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden it turns the retcon. It's not really a retcon. It truly is just something that the Imperium didn't realize.
Because it might have been good propaganda to say, oh, the angel Sanguinius gave his life, and then you get Sanguinala, and he's now become a martyr for the Imperium as well as the Space Marines.
Yeah, so GW has a lot of room to play with like the Imperial Creed getting a hold of the story of Sanguinius and trying to make people more devoted to the God Emperor, and then they twist it to be like, well, Sanguinius is basically like a Jesus figure who, because of his death, like humanity had to what is it with Christ? His sacrifice saved humanity.
Yeah, cleansed humanity of sins and all that.
Yeah, so kind of the same thing, but really it's just like bullshit that like that the Imperial Creed put out there, just so that more people could worship the Imperial Creed. So I guess everything tied in a bow tie is that retcons are not as bad as you think. Yeah. That was a good question though.
Yeah, huge minor tangent, but it all pertains to it.
Yep. Next question.
On to the next one. This one's by Timothy Armstrong. What are Nurgle blight grenades? That's actually really relevant because we're doing a whole campaign, and in this campaign that we're doing, I'm playing like a Nurgle themed chaos warband, and I'm actually going to use blight grenades today. So what they are the severed they're the severed heads of like the enemies that the Nurgle Marines have beheaded, and they've basically infused them with like Nurgle's rot and all this like disease, coronavirus, swine flu, the plague, all in one, and they like throw it and it like blows up, and now you're all effed up.
Yeah, they're pretty badass. They suck to go up against, because what is it?
It's a grenade. I'm not going to tell you just yet.
Oh, man.
If you guys know, then you know.
I want to prep for it.
I'm not playing Skitarii anymore.
Yeah. Next question comes from Jack Odell. Yeah, Jack Odell. How do the World Eaters induct new members into their cult? So like if it's a warband, usually it's like the implantation of the butcher's nail. But then that goes back to the whole idea of like how do Chaos Space Marines get recruits? Then the answer is like they either get corrupted loyalist Marines or like freshly turned traitor Marines and just induct them into their ranks. They steal children. They artificially create them, just like the
Demon Kulaba.
Yep.
Thanks for reminding me.
And actually, surprisingly, the Dark Eldar do the same thing. I didn't know that.
What, they have their own Demon Kulaba?
It's not as disgusting, but yes, they have basically sack babies that they produce to get their populations up and stuff. But yeah, so there's a variety of World Eater warbands, and they have different ways of recruiting, but it all usually comes to the Butcher's Nail implantation, and the Butcher's Nail is really what drives them into rages that are like beyond what a normal Space Marine would feel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Next question comes from...
This one is by B33LZ6U6, aka Beelzebub. If the Iron Hands had a Black Rage style psychic flaw after the death of their Primarch, what would it be?
I think they do. I forget what it's called.
Isn't it that they just like repress their emotions? And because of that, they actually created like a demon.
Yeah. But I thought there was something else. Like the reason that they think that the flesh is weak, and the reason that they almost have not a disease. What is it called?
Like a mutation?
Not a mutation, but like when somebody, like even in real life, when somebody wants to amputate a leg because they think that it should be removed, like it is a psychological thing, like a negative psychological, well, whatever. The Iron Hands have something like that. And what it is they just believe that the flesh is weak, even like they have body dysmorphia to an extreme level. And they think that if the people fighting on Isfahan, was it 3 or 5?
Well, it depends on which one you're talking about.
The Drop Site Massacre.
5.
So if the people fighting on Isfahan 5 were stronger, were more machine, then they would have been able to save their Primarch. And they even hold resentment towards like the Salamanders, the Raven Guard, because they feel that they were too weak. If they were stronger, if they had more robotic pieces, then they could have saved Ferrus Manus, or at least they could have fought better. So they have that like chip on their shoulder that just circles in their mind over and over and forces them to have this body dysmorphia. But yeah, the other thing too, they created the entity.
Yeah, that was a really cool storyline.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was called like the Blind King or something like that.
Yeah, where it's that repressed emotion created a warp entity.
Mm-hmm.
It basically was like a demon.
Yeah, and he like took over a whole world, and they had multiple campaigns to try and like stop it.
Surprisingly, we don't have a video for it, and we really need to create a video for that.
Yeah, this is like the second or third time we've mentioned that.
Yeah. Last question. I have one from... Nope, I already read that one. Tyler Flynn. Do the remaining Loyalist Luna Wolves still recruit anyone to fill their ranks, or were they just banned? So the Loyalist Luna Wolves don't exist. Because the Luna Wolves were Horus's people, and they became the Black
Legion.
And any Loyalist... You could twist the lore to say that, yes, some Luna Wolves that were Loyalists did become something. But for the most part, like the ones that were Terran born but didn't go on Horus's side actually became Black Shields, and the Black Shields mixed together with like a bunch of different other Black Shields, so like Loyalists from traitor legions, and yeah. Mm-hmm. So they became Black Shields, and then from the Black Shields, then they kind of like just... It was an amalgamation of different chapters.
Right. It's like the saying goes, black on black, that's fucking rose.
Sure. That makes sense.
I mean, if you know, you know, right?
And those are the questions for today. If you guys have more questions for us, comment down below.
This has been the Sound Alchemist.
Gershwan.
And Ricky Rose.
Out.
our freedom back.